Artificial intelligence combined with a global network of volunteers is bringing a new level of assistance to the blind and visually impaired. I speak with Mike Buckley, CEO of Be My Eyes. I met Buckley in Las Vegas at CES. Before we get to Be My Eyes, kind of give us your backstory. I mean, how do you end up where you are in this seat talking to me today?
I was in corporate consulting for many years, and then I took a job at a social media company, and then after that I started making investments in small companies. And for some reason I had a number of companies that I invested in that were based in Denmark. And as a result of that, I met the founders of Be My Eyes, which was launched in Denmark by a Danish furniture craftsman who was losing his eyesight, and he got annoyed at having to call his family and friends for help all the time. And so he launched this app into the world that helped connect people and helped basically provide sight to people. So I ended up at Be My Eyes in sort of a circuitous manner, but I'm very pleased that I did.
And the whole concept initially is here are these people with limited vision or blind, and they need help, and then you pair them with volunteers, right? So explain how the whole mission started, and then we can kind of talk about how it's morphed more recently.
Yeah, so it started out as a free application, and it's still a free application, where someone who's blind or has low vision can press one button on their phone and be connected to a sighted volunteer anywhere in the world that speaks their language, right? And we operate it now in 150 countries and 180 languages. But what happens on that call is the person who's blind or low vision, their camera works and shows the volunteer what they see or what they want to see. So you might be looking for a can of soup, or you might be trying to distinguish between the shampoo and the conditioner in a hotel room, and the volunteer on the other side of that call will describe the scene for you. And it could be anything like getting through an airport to the shampoo to finding something in your home. And it's this wonderful connection, right? I think about it as the merger of technology, right? That video capability and human kindness. And if you fast forward to today, we are the largest blindness and low vision conglomerate of people in the world, 762,000 and counting as of this morning, growing by about 16,000 a month, and an astonishing 8.2 million volunteers, right? That means that someone who's blind or low vision anywhere in the world can get help through this simple touch of a button in our application. The calls only last about 3 minutes. The volunteers love the experience. The satisfaction ratings from the blind and low vision community on the calls are higher than 96%. So what I like to say is it just works, right? It just works to provide a need. And what we did now, starting a couple of years ago, is we brought in artificial intelligence into the application, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that.
Buckley gave me a live demo of how the AI feature works through the Be My Eyes app. Why don't you show us exactly how this works? So you'd be pointing it, and this is kind of a busy
So take a picture here,
area.
and then takes a picture, and then it describes it.
Voiceover on. Be My Eyes. Clear. Button. The image shows a busy exhibition or trade show floor with various booths and displays. In the center, there is a large black booth with the logo BUCKLEY prominently displayed. Above this booth, there is a circular hanging sign with the same BUCKLEY branding.
Wow, so it gives you everything.
It's really quite robust in terms of the description. Yeah, it's and obviously if you're someone who doesn't have sight or has low vision, that level of detail can be great. And you can kind of tweak it also to, if you want shorter answers or longer answers, you can just ask for it that way. But it's all about the consumer's choice.
And the thing that's so funny is society, in so many respects, look at AI and say, oh, this is terrible. But this is a demonstration of just how beneficial it can be.
Look, I'm not going to say that AI is 100% good, 100% bad, but there is no doubt that this is societally beneficial, and there's no doubt it's giving power and independence to people who otherwise didn't have as much of that.
You're a guy who's familiar with tech, so AI comes on the scene and people are talking about AI and kind of where it can go. You were smart enough to say, I'm gonna see how this merges with what we're doing today. Talk to us about that kind of the light bulb going off and the phone calls and what happened next.
Well, I don't know if I was smart enough, maybe a little bit, but you know, in these things you often get lucky. And I had this belief that artificial intelligence could have very significant benefits for people who are blind or low vision, whether through computer vision or other types of assistance. And so in January of 2023, I cold called OpenAI. And someone picked up the phone there and someone talked to me. And we talked about the mission of Be My Eyes, which is to make the world more accessible to people who are blind or have low vision. And they thought that that was a really interesting thing. And they said, hey, Mike, can you keep a secret? I said, sure. It's like, well, we're going to launch something really interesting and we'd love to have you in as a partner. Are you interested? Took us about 3 seconds to say yes. And literally at that point, our engineers talked with their engineers, which was the initial launch of ChatGPT. GPT-4, the one with really advanced capabilities, and we've now incorporated in our app. But you talk about serendipity, you know, for whatever reason, on the day that I picked up the phone, someone was there and was willing to listen to the pitch, and OpenAI has been an excellent partner ever since.
But you're a guy who's been around a long time, and you know there are a million idea people, and ideas you can look at it as, oh, this is going to be amazing. Ideas have to meet with implementation, and they have to merge and work. Were there early stages where you're like, oh, this is such a great idea, but kind of some trepidation, and did things fall into place right away? Or talk to us about those early stages.
Mostly excitement, but some trepidation, right? In the earlier stages of AI, you would see more errors. Like a lot of those errors have been reduced now. Sometimes people call them hallucinations when the AI was making things up. These happen less and less frequently now, but that gave us some trepidation for sure. Also, when you're putting a new tool in the hands of anybody, you worry about them and their safety. And obviously, any reliance on AI from someone who's blind or low vision has different risks than for someone who's sighted, right? If you're using the AI to get around an airport, well, what if it gives you the wrong gate? Or what if I use it for transportation on a train station and I'm on the wrong platform or whatever? And so there was certainly a little bit of trepidation there. But one of the things we did with OpenAI was we brought on a huge group of beta testers who were blind and low vision to test the product. And many of these people were the first people that got to play with these models before the general public, which I think is awesome, right? That OpenAI and Be My Eyes brought in people who are blind or low vision at the front end stage of technology, not only to test it, but to further refine it, to help development. And so this group, it ended up being thousands of blind and low vision beta testers. That group of people made the product better, right? They gave OpenAI feedback literally every day, multiple times a day. And they weren't shy about it. And it helped improve the product, it helped improve the model. And actually that model that these people really helped refine is now one that many of us use every day.
And the refining, were there things where you were just like, oh, I didn't even think about that, where they spotted stuff early on that really kind of helped with the refinement?
Sure, so the initial models didn't know what a white cane was, right? Didn't realize that perhaps a dog with a special banding on it was a guide dog rather than just a furry plaything. And so there were a lot of things that were germane specifically to the blind or low vision community that these models didn't recognize first. Another thing that they did was some of the models, not necessarily OpenAI's, but some of the models would apologize to you for being blind. Oh, I'm really sorry that you're blind, which no blind person wants to hear, right? And so it, you know, these emotional or maudlin conversations sometimes occur between the AI and the blind and low vision beta testers, and we fixed, I think, most of that.
Tell me what you can see.
I can see the top of Big Ben peeking through the trees. It's got that classic neo-Gothic design with the recognizable clock faces on each of its 4 sides.
Be My Eyes users can decide how they want to be helped, either with a volunteer, AI, or a combination of both.
The Royal Standard flag is flying above Buckingham Palace, which is the signal that the monarch is present. How exciting to be there.
And the interesting feature, and maybe you can talk a little bit more about this, is and I've heard you discuss this, you call the volunteer like, hey, I don't know what this is, can you help me? And they do, but in the case of AI, they might say the soup is right there, but you could use that in a recipe to do this or that. The AI expands kind of things. Can you talk about that?
So the fascinating thing about it is it's queryable, right? This is the point you're talking about. You can ask further questions, and the AI can go further with its knowledge. So if you called me up and asked me about my knowledge of how to hook up a router, I might not know anything, but you know what? The AI does. Right? And if you think about it in the context of a recipe or the example that you were just giving, it said, oh, these are tomatoes. Like, I don't cook very well, right? I don't know how to use tomatoes in a recipe, but you know who does? The AI does. So if the person who's blind or low vision uses the AI to say, how can I use that in a soup? How can I use that with a roast or whatever? The AI can, generally speaking, have a greater breadth of knowledge than any one human being. That said, we continue to increase the calls to volunteers, which I think is also about human connection that people want. So we're doing about 1.4 million calls a year, and it's going up. So I think there's room for both of these. At the end of the day, though, it's the person's choice, right? Let the person who is blind or low vision figure out and determine for themselves how they want to navigate their environment, how they want to interact with the world, how they want to solve their problem.
I remember interviewing a guy who's low vision. I just think of him with his phone hurling it across the room. And part of the reason why they love your feature is because this does give them kind of the freedom to do some of the things that they wouldn't be able to do without it.
100%, right? For us, this is about wanting to work with this community, right? To foster power, foster independence, dignity, right? And if you let someone solve their problem by themselves, think about the impact of that on their life. Think about the fact that I don't have to wait for the airline personnel to show up and help me through the airport if that's how I choose to use it. Just think about having that choice, right? I talked to a woman who historically had called a lot of volunteers on Be My Eyes, and she said, I still call once in a while, but I call less. And I said, why do you call less? She's like, I can solve the problem with the AI myself. And she said, hey, Mike, you know what? Maybe I'm cooking a recipe and sometimes I don't want to volunteer in my kitchen. Right? Maybe I just want to do this on my own. And so I love hearing those stories of independence because it's what Be My Eyes is all about.
Talk to me about a word that we don't talk enough about, I think, which is purpose, a sense of purpose. You've had a great career, you've done a lot of different things, but this is one of those jobs where you're actually making a difference in people's lives. And that sense of purpose has to be something that fuels kind of your drive as you get up each morning.
It's a big deal. But it's not just a big deal to me, it's a big deal to our whole team. I think everybody that works at Be My Eyes, all of our engineers, right? All of our salespeople, all of our service people, I think every one of them could probably, make more money and work less hours somewhere else. But they don't. And the reason they don't is because every day we get out of the bed focused on a mission, right? And that mission is to make the world more accessible for this community. And so, I don't know about you, but I hate the idea that, someone is taken advantage of, or the fact that if you imagine someone who's blind or low vision, every system, every product, every experience in the world is generally speaking not designed for you. That's awful, right? And by the way, there are over 300 million people who are blind or have low vision globally. That number is predicted to almost double by 2050 because of rates of macular degeneration, diabetes, growing populations generally. So you have this huge swath of the population that the overwhelming majority of society is not thinking about. And so it feels good to get out of bed every day and go attack that problem and attack that mission. So I'm not shy about it. Yeah, it does feel good to have that purpose. But at the end of the day, it's working with that community, right? We're very big on avoiding the notion that we're doing something for people. We're working with this community to design things collaboratively.
They've also helped you see the world differently too. I mean, just the way you just described it. So in that sense, how has this changed you as a person, do you think?
I think about the lousy systems and products for all the time. So if you think about, take it for example, hotels around the world or airports that have all put in these kiosks. How do you navigate the kiosks? Visually. So all of that technology, billions of dollars spent on that technology on kiosks all around the world, in stores, in airports, in hotels, is completely inaccessible to over 300 million people. right? So it fundamentally alters how you view any particular product. You think about what we're doing right here. Yes, the blind or low vision person can hear what I'm saying, but wouldn't it be good to have audio descriptions to see if I have a goofy look on my face, right? Or what I'm doing with their hands, or what we're wearing, right? So it fundamentally alters the way, paradoxically, that I view the world.
A woman puts on a pair of Ray-Ban Meta glasses.
One of Be My Eyes' latest partnerships is with Ray-Ban Meta glasses, which allows users to call a volunteer while wearing the smart glasses.
Yes, I'm taking a look. You look amazing. It looks perfect.
Oh, thank you so much.
What kind of advancements do you see with AI that are really going to help the community that you serve?
Oh, I mean, everybody's talking about AI agents now, right? And my assumption is that all of us, including people who are blind or have low vision, will have individual agents that take care of our needs, that book our appointments, right? That fix our service calls, that call our TV provider with the problem. And I also think that it will be with us all the time, probably not on a phone necessarily, but something that's wearable. When you think about the Ray-Ban Meta glasses, right? Think about the power dynamic that enhances for the blind or low vision consumer. If I'm walking around an airport trying to navigate, and I've got to use my phone, and I've got my guide dog, and I've got my bag, well, it's already impossible, right? But if I'm wearing glasses or a pin or some device on my person, right, that allows me to see and interact and get that information hands-free, it's just a sea change. And so I think agents and an increasingly sophisticated and powerful AI doing a bunch of our dirty work for us or a bunch of our boring work for us is the not too distant future, actually.
And then the vision for Be My Eyes, where do you see it 5, 10 years from now?
We will continue to be the largest organization of blind and low vision consumers in the world. I believe we will be the largest volunteer army. We are digitally. The Red Cross is probably larger, but at 8.2 million volunteers, I think we're the largest digital army, and we're going to continue to grow that community and be the largest volunteer army in the world. And I think we'll also be the #1 customer service platform for blind and low vision consumers, but we will also launch some products for the home and some products for the enterprise for in the workspace for the blind and low vision employee and consumer. So we've got a lot on our roadmap, but I think that as long as we keep the mission, right, of making the planet more accessible to this audience, we've got a lot of opportunity and, probably not a lot of sleep.
Let me ask one final question. Let's say at some point you decide to hang them up, turn out the lights in your office and walk out for one last time, turn the keys over to somebody else. What would you hope your legacy is?
That's a really interesting question, and I haven't thought about it.
You don't have time to.
I hope people say, wow, he really did listen and he really cared. And if at the end, if somebody put that on your headstone, right, or said that at your funeral, you feel pretty good about yourself. Like he listened and he cared. And so I still have a lot of work to do in that front, but that's what I hope it is.
Well, it's been great listening to you, and you definitely do care. Thank you so much for talking to us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.